here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Another show with the great Scouser and the not so great Scot.
Well, what have we got today? We've got the quiet one, I believe, from Outlaw Orchestra, I think.
Yeah.
Dave,
I'm
how are you
Dave.
doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good today, guys. Yeah, I'm the quiet one from the Outlaw Orchestra. I just sing the songs and the occasional story in between.
They're the rumours. They are the rumours, Dave.
No,
But
they're
other
not.
than that, how are you keeping yourself during lockdown? Is the band doing well? Everyone getting along well?
I've been busier than we've ever been, and recording, writing songs, writing, bouncing back and forward, doing virtual mixing with a producer virtually, and we're all listening on my Hello Kitty headphones, listening to what's going down in history on my £2.99 from Asda earphones. Yeah, so to be honest, aside from gigging, we've been busy, really busy, and I'm loving it.
So, other than because I love the sound of these Hello Kitties. I think they need to be auctioned off at the end of when the record's released. What are the chances?
That's a great idea, because I do keep a big box of the stuff that we use and do, and when we make videos, it all goes in. Because people do want to do charity things, charity raffles, and you go, hey, here's something, and if it raises money for a good cause, that's a great idea.
Let's do it. Let's do it, man. Let's get an orchestra, Outlaw Orchestra signed Hello Kitty headphone set. Up for grabs. This is next level.
It didn't do Dr. Dre any harm with his beats, did it? So Hello Kitty might be the next big thing for you guys.
That'd be great. I'd like to be sponsored by them.
Top endorsement deal. Right, let's crack on with some questions. Let's go for the top 10 for you then. So can you give us an insight into your interest in music, how it all began, and what got you hooked?
I was pretty much born into it. My dad had played through the early 60s in Germany, in Hamburg, and he toured around Germany with the Beatles and Little Richard. So I kind of grew up with all the posters and pictures, and you kind of knew as a 5-year-old that your dad had done something special, and it was kind of, there's something exciting. There's musical instruments around the house, and he sold his 1961 Fender Stratocaster to buy an engagement ring to marry my mum, which was a really lousy deal. That said, had he not done that, I wouldn't have been born, or maybe my mum would have been a German hooker. You never know. I hope my mum doesn't see this. Actually, I'm going to digress here. My dad passed away 10 years ago or so. My mum found an old wallet of my dad's from Germany. Bear in mind, they were married in the early 60s. And we found a condom. And it said, to be used by 1967. I said, come on, Mum, he was a musician, for God's sake. And he didn't use it, so he's not in trouble. Anyway, that said, so you knew that there was music everywhere. And then I think when we got a record player, me and my brothers were just given a big wedge of albums in the mid-70s, and I'd sit and work through them. And I think it was probably Can't Buy Me Love, the Beatles. I kind of loved how raucous it was. And, you're jumping up and down your bed with your badminton racket. And I love that. I loved Can't Buy Me Love. And yeah, I think Beatles songs stuck in the head. I remember there's a really hot girl at school. She was 6 and I was 5. she was really hot. I'm telling you, there's no doubt she grew up to look like Jane Mansfield. I even said to my mates that I was at school with, they went, yeah, what's her name? I won't say her name. They went, she must have been smoking hot. I went, she was hot when she was 6. I was like 4.5 or 5.
Have you Facebook stalked her?
Yeah, I have. She's not. I can't find her. I can't find her at all. We've all tried. Anyway, so I remember I had the song in my head. I really fell in love with her, and I used to sing to myself, "She loves me, yeah, yeah, yeah." Cycling home from school. God, I loved her. All the way from 6 years old to 8 years old. She just got better.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, mate. That must be the earliest I've known anybody to start thinking like that. You're just weird.
So there you go. I mean, that was it. And then Dad took us to see the Rolling Stones in about 1979, 1980. I was a little kid on his shoulders. I remember seeing Keith Richards, and Dad passed me to the bloke in front, and I said, keep passing me forward, and they passed me all the way till I got to the front. I'm looking up at Keith thinking, I want to be like you. So that was all the influences.
That's cool.
So as an actual performer though, you
Yeah.
know, thinking now about you as a performer, who would you say your biggest influences are musically, performance wise?
I like Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh when he was in the James Gang, because I read his book and he said they started off as a 5-piece, went on tour, they all fell out with each other, ended up as a 3-piece. So he had to sing, he had to play, he's doing slide guitar, and they were just in the groove, probably stoned out of their heads playing. But I always dug Joe Walsh, and so musically, I love Joe Walsh and his slide playing. As a frontman, it's got to be Mick, it's got to be Jagger. So
Move
yeah,
like Jagger, mate. You move like Jagger.
move like Jagger. You got it. Yeah.
So obviously, like, you know, you had all this experience, all this music around you when you was young. You must have had like bands starting. What was your first band, and how did you get to Outlaw Orchestra?
Yeah, so first, I think the first single that really grabbed me was the 7-inch single for kids. That's a piece of plastic we put on a machine, it turns around, we put a needle on it, it plays. So the 7-inch single of Freebird, and on the back of it was Swamp Music and Give Me 3 Steps, I think, by Lynyrd Skynyrd. And I played it to death until my mum shouted, "Will you please play something else?" And I had Sweet Home Alabama. So that was it. I loved Southern rock. And yeah, we get into the 80s. And as a kid, I just wanted to learn guitar because I wanted to be Eddie Van Halen. So me and my dad would fall out. I'd come home from my guitar lessons. I'm trying to play this. And Dad's going, Dad bought me, I forget what it was. It was some rock and roll song. It was Chuck Berry, and said, "Until you can play along with Chuck Berry, forget Eddie Van Halen." And to be honest, he was right.
Oh yeah, 100%, yeah.
Definitely. Learn the fundamentals.
Yeah, he said, until you can play from start to finish and you stay in time, forget all your crazy Eddie Van Halen stuff. So there you go. So when Eddie Van Halen, then into Judas Priest, Ozzy Osbourne, and As Your Brothers Come Home, and they give you Back in Black, and that was it. I wanted to be in a metal band. So by the 90s, it's full black hair, black leather, studs, and metal. We disbanded. That band was called Stranglehold. Really good German power metal kind of band. All the crazy arpeggios and harmony stuff like Dragon's Force. But we were in the wrong era by that time. That had gone, and we were just sort of getting it together. So I left that band, and then I went through the local music magazine, see if we didn't have the internet. Went through the paper, and it said, rock band wants guitarist. And okay, I went along, I stood in the audition, and there's this girl there with her keyboards, and there's all these freaks in the queue. And I went, "Excuse me, I just want to get in." They went, "Oh, are you here for the audition?" I went, "Yeah." They went, "So are we." And they just auditioned anything and anybody. Bloke with an accordion and the Spanish guy with maracas. Honestly, mariachis were around the corner, and so I think I went in. They said, "What do you want to do?" And we did Hold the Line by Toto. So we did the solo, and I sung the high vocals, and they went, "You're the man." The second I got in that band, that was the only rock song they did. All the rest was Spandau Ballet. No. So I tell you what, I have total respect for them. They are really tricky, brilliantly written songs. And I was at a party once, and I bumped into one of the Kemp brothers. And just to outline to some of the listeners, one of the Kemp brothers was in EastEnders after Spandau Ballet, and he also did adverts for DFS sofas.
That's Martin.
That's Martin. So I met the other Kemp brother in this party, and I'd had a few. And I said, Gary, I was in Spandau Ballet tribute band, mate. Put my arm around him, and he goes, "Great, now off." And I went, "Hang on, don't go yet. Can you call Martin? I need a new sofa. Can you get me a deal?" He's got me up. Get out of here. So anyway, I did chat to him later and said they were great songs, but then I got even more pissed and slid down the bar and bumped into Brian Ferry. Seriously, I bumped into Brian Ferry. My girlfriend sort of pulled me back and went, just behave yourself. And I'm still going, "I'm in with the in crowd." And she's going, "That's it, we're going now." So where was I? Spandau Ballet, yeah. So I managed to get him to do a couple of Joe Walsh songs, and there was a band big in Portsmouth called County Line, and they were like ZZ Top. They were kind of like Skinnerd. One of them came to that gig and saw me do Joe Walsh. They'd lost a guitarist. He said, "Do you want to join County Line?" I went, "Yep, done." Joined County Line. They all dropped away. They were famous for their punch-ups, and I went to the first party we ever had. They introduced me to the band, and we had a big barbecue, and we ended up one of them hitting the other one with a lawnmower and punching 7 bells. So that went on for a few years, and we changed the name of the band to Hazard County.
Yeah, funny enough.
Yeah. So it has Hazard County, and we're a 4-piece, and we just did tons of Skinner, ZZ Top, and Allman Brothers, stuff like that. And then as a sideline thing, I was just doing a little bit of bluegrass with this banjo player, and then I got Ryan, who's drums for us now, who was our standing drummer. Got Ryan to come and jam in with this little bluegrass band, and it started to do quite good. And we sort of played some gigs in a cafe. We had 8 songs, and so I talked between the songs just to drag it out to 3 hours. And eventually I said, "Look, this bluegrass is a bit weak. Can I plug into my orange amp? Can I just turn up the gain a bit and a bit more and a bit more?" In the end, we modified his banjo with a pickup, and then by chance, Ryan got us a gig for Planet Rock on their Winter's End festival. So we've gone from a gig in a cafe and a gig in a pub to Winter's End. So I think we all had a good shot of rum, and we're out backstage, and there's maybe about 50 or so people, and we go out and we just start playing, and I start doing my thing. And I remember seeing the lights go on, and there's a couple of thousand people, and that was a buzz. I mean, that was like the adrenaline knocked you off your feet.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody took a photograph. I actually sat down in the drum riser. I looked kind of cool and laid back, but actually my knees went. It was that much of an adrenaline rush. I had to sit down. I just kind of smiled, and somebody took this great picture. Yeah, so from there, suddenly we got a lot of love, and everyone liked the Outlaw Orchestra. And yeah, so we just started doing what we do in the pub on a Sunday afternoon, do on the big stage, and it works. Just have a good time.
So when you created the band, when you pulled the band together, did you ever have a vision of what you wanted? And how did you go about? And if you did, how did you go about creating that vision, or has it just always been sort of working along?
It's been very much just flying by the seat of your pants. But there was always a thing that I want to try and self-manage, keep everything close as much as you can, but trying to create a much bigger picture. So trying to get an agent to book your gigs, trying to get somebody to do your public relations. You can do a hell of a lot yourself online. And obviously there's kids that are 15 years old that are running circles around us, but we're constantly at it all the time. But we're just getting to the point now where you're starting to have to relinquish some of that power you've got. You've got to delegate, give this to this person, to a marketing company. And the second you spend 500 quid with a marketing company, wham, your numbers go through the roof. And now you're selling a lot of CDs. So it does work. You do have to, if you've got a product and you've got a CD, if it's not getting on the shelves and people aren't advertising it, you're not going to sell it. You can invent the best toy in the world, but you've got to get it out there. So you have to use people. So the plan is formulated as we've got bigger and more success. And Ryan on drums just sort of keeps banging on doors, gets on this festival, and he's got us to some big festivals. And the recipe works. It's like the choir boys, just kind of go out, have a beer, have a good time, and do some rock and roll. And that's our recipe. Have a drink and do some rock and roll.
That's
it's a good one.
Definitely. I've got an interesting one for you, Dave. Though everyone's got their own ways of doing things. Even myself and my our band and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What is the songwriting process for Outlaw Orchestra? It's an interesting one because I think there's so many different ways of doing it, and so many people who want to take charge. What is your process?
So if I was answering this as if somebody was asking me for advice, I'd say the first thing I do is when we sit on Netflix watching movies, and I love westerns, I am constantly emailing myself one-liners. I watched an old western the other day, and some guy said, "Are you going to draw that gun or stand there and whistle Dixie?" I'm having that. I'm having that line. That'll go in a song. Are you just going to are you going to draw that gun or stand there and whistle Dixie? I went, it means nothing. But
it sounds cool.
So the other night we wrote a song in about 4 hours. It's called Rattlesnake Sour, which is a drink, which is I forget what the it is, rattlesnake poison and something, but Rattlesnake Sour. And I literally went to my folder of one-liners that I've just emailed myself and just piled up all these titles and started turning them around, building a story, seeing what rhymes. If I get stuck on a rhyme, I go to rhyming.com, put in the word, and it'll give you a million rhymes. And then you go, that totally works. That's literally for the lyrics. So we are all constantly emailing each other lyrics, and they go in the lyric file. And then on the music, I just sit up late and steal something from somebody that will never come chasing me. I mean, I'll go back and sort of have a look at 1920s gospel pianists, and you'll hear a chord progression. You go, oh, that is clever. Right, I'm going to have those few chords. Our song, and I'm happy to say it, our song, Whiskey Drinking Liar, in the middle there's a bridge section. And the bridge section is the keyboard, which Joe Walsh walks out to on stage at Woodstock when he does Get By With A Little Help From My Friends. And there's this Hammond organ playing. I just took all those chord changes to do the bridge section. So I'm always looking for a chord progression that moves you emotionally. You know, you can be in a pub or somebody puts a song in the jukebox, you, get another round in. I love this song. It's that type of chord progression I'm just trying to get and put into every song so you get that emotive feeling. Then stick a load of lyrics on it and hopefully it works.
So, I mean, I've been in bands myself, and we used to, our way of working was the guys with the guitarist, so that would bring ideas of, you know, riffs and that. We'd work it, I would then create the melody for myself for singing and the lyrics, etc. I either have the lyrics. But for you guys, when you write these songs, how do you decide if it's working, it isn't working? And when it's working, how do you decide which ones you're going to put out as a single or as an album? It's going to be in the album. And can you also talk us through the recording process for you guys as well, please, Dave?
Yeah. So on the song, I might have a guitar riff. So I'll record the guitar riff just to a click, and I'll do it on GarageBand on my Mac computer. So I'll just record the riff. If it's going somewhere and it's, as we say, got some legs, I'll send it to Banjo Pete, and Banjo Pete will go, yeah, I've got a little banjo line that fits with that. And we go, brilliant, stick it in the bank. And it just sits there. Then he'll come up with a range of lyrics. And I'll go, hang on, let me go back to my folder of riffs and chord progressions. And I go, I mean, he did one the other week. He was driving and he recorded himself and he shouted out this chorus. I went, I cannot believe it fits like a glove to this chord progression I've got. But then we've just got that ingredient, just the chorus, no rest of the song. So I keep going through the archive of riffs and stuff, and you go, right, that's in the key of G, it fits with this, it fits with that. And then you start building it. I drop all the sections into GarageBand and have a listen and go, change that bit around. And it sometimes works. And then sometimes, like the other night, I just listened to a song by the slide player, Eric Sardinas. And I went, I'm having that riff, Eric, because you're probably drunk at the moment. You wouldn't even know. So I'm going to have that lick, and I've got some lyrics, and it works in 4 hours. So recording-wise, GarageBand, which is on your Mac computer, it's so simple. You plug into one of those Focusrite things, these little interfaces like that.
Yeah, I've got one.
Yeah, you just plug into it and then just put the click track on and play your riff and loop it 10 times and then start humming to it, do a little solo over it. I find that is like your best friend for writing. And then I will send the folder to Pete. He opens it, he has a listen, does his bit, sends it back. We send it to Ryan, and Ryan will sit there in his garage and he'll mic up his drums and play them, send them back, send them to the mixer, our mixing pal, Dave Evans, and then we do a live session. And he'll go, all right, I've balanced this and this, and we chop it around, get your Hello Kitty headphones on, and you go, that sounds all right to me. And that's it. And then we bounce it back and go, you know what, that sounds pretty good. From that, you then decide what's going to be a single, what's not. I suppose the ultimate goal, you know, we're all musicians. You'd like to think that if you do an album of 10 songs, they are all you're living on a prayer. all of them are your boys are back in town, but that's not the case. And it's really funny when you look at the analytics of when you've put out an album. Like we have one song on our album, Pantomime Villains. It's a song called It Happened Again, which is, it's mine and Pete's problem for buying, you know, you go in to buy a pack of guitar strings and you come out with a 1,500 quid Martin guitar on your arm. Yeah.
You're talking, Dave, that song is going to be Ian Johnson. It's going to be played at Ian Johnson's funeral. That is him. That is him.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Good man. You can never have enough. So Pete phoned me up and he said, listen, I'm just driving from Maidstone back to Bournemouth, but I've just told Becky, my missus, we're just going to do a quick detour. I just need to have a look in the guitar shop in Brighton. So he drives down to Brighton, 40 miles. Next minute, ping, message. Dave. I said, what? It happened again. And he got himself, 3,800 quid pedal steel. So it happened. So going back, that was the song which I said is the weakest song on the album. And I had a look at the analytics the other night, and it's the third listened to song on the album. Seriously. So you just don't know. And yet you stick out a heavy one with a good riff, you know, a real sort of Rocky Balboa training song, and it's not your top song. It's really weird. You just don't know.
It's like everything, isn't it? It's what grabs you at the time. It's like, you know, you can listen to about 20 different songs.
Yeah.
Every day it'll be a different song.
Yeah.
That grabs you. And that's what I love about music. And that's what I'd like, you know what I mean? That's one of the reasons I get up on stage.
Yeah.
Because seeing people sing along to your song is one of the best ever feelings.
I think that has to be one of the best ever feelings, doesn't it? You see people singing your song, that's incredible. I mean, the things that we have at our disposal now that bands before us didn't have. I mean, the fact that I can talk about looking at these analytics and things like that. I can look at what is the age group of our target audience, and it's basically like 42 years old to 59 is our perfect area. So you do tend to write songs from those angles, from getting a few grey hairs in your beard and what have you.
You've just mentioned something really interesting there. Obviously, we're talking about analytics and stuff like that. Where do you get your analytics from? Because people don't. Obviously, I've got a way of finding out and stuff like that. But where do you get it from? Because if someone's listening to you and he's going, "Where do you get this information? Where do you get it from, Dave?"
Spotify is one. Facebook business. So it's actually business/facebook.com. And you go into your band site and you get a lot of analytics. YouTube as well. And we use a company called KSC Media, which are a marketing company. Bunch of young lads, and they live and breathe just analysing the net. And they just give you this information. I mean, you could argue, is it another weapon in your arsenal?
Wow.
In a way, you could say you could say it is, and it does streamline you so that you don't stray off the path. But I don't know. Bands before us never had that problem.
I think the thing was in them days of Dave, it was a different market, certainly for rock. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when rock was the main thing, when Top of the Pops was full of rock, you know, early 70s, etc. And it's changed. It isn't anymore. And I mean, I mentioned in an interview we had last night at I get Music Week magazine, which is the industry magazine. And rock's never mentioned in it, and that's the one. And they only cover the things that's important to them, which is the big markets. Rock's just not on there. So I think there's that. So I think you have to use all this analysis because, quite frankly, I mean, Ian and I interviewed a guy called Robert Henry Wass, who's from the Robert Henry Band in America, and he uses analytics really. And I says, so how do you know who your target market is? He says, I listen to bands that I like. I look at who's buying theirs, and I think that's who I need to target. I said, so where do you get this? So that's what Ian's drive is. A lot of young bands or a lot of bands don't understand what they can do with that. So for me, from a promoter's perspective, if you were to say to me, I don't know why, but we seem to have a lot of followers in Sunderland, then I'm going to say, let's get a gig up there and let's make it maybe so many people have sold a load up there, right? And that's the kind of focus you need.
I mean, it's things like that. You're right. In our town, I don't think we could get more than 150, 200 people in a venue to see us. About that. Yet we go to Sheffield, for some reason, Sheffield, I mean, I love what one person wrote. They said, we don't care where the Outlaw Orchestra are from. They're from Sheffield now. This is their hometown. And we get to Sheffield and go, we're back home, you know, and it's 3.5 hours drive north, and I love it. It's the best town. So it's things like that. I mean, I guess the only benchmark you had 15, 20 years ago was, where am I on top of the pops? Where are we in the charts?
Yeah.
And that's your analytics. There you go. We're at number 12, or with Cool in the Gang or something.
I think that one of the hardest things at the moment is that there's too many charts. Though.
Yeah.
It sounds daft. There's a chart for everything now.
Yeah, there is.
Sort of like, no, where we used to have the number one, which was every, I think, Saturday or Sunday night.
Yeah.
Who was number one? And that was it. Now it's like, number one is on this, and you're like, which chart are we in?
Which chart? I mean, we really ramped up on our media, our advertising, that we were number one. And if you said to me, because anyone over a certain age, you go, you're number one, fantastic. And of course, the kids turn around and go, number one where? And I go, the Midwest Country Chart, Nebraska, Ohio, on KKLZ Radio, which is just an internet radio station, but we're number one.
Or Banks Radio Australia, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a funny one. Me and the missus were driving through central Australia, and we went into this town called Woomera, which makes me think of your Area 51 license plate behind you, Ian, because Woomera is like Area 51. It's a military nuclear testing area, and there's a hotel there. And there was one convenience shop. So we went into the convenience shop, and there was nothing in the shop, a loaf of bread, can of beans, and a whole rack of Craig David CDs. And he's from Southampton, and I'm going to run into him one day. I've got to tell him. But he was on Radio 1. I was desperately trying to phone in. I wanted to get hold of Craig David. Said, Craig, you're huge in Woomera, Central Australia.
Well, actually, it couldn't have been. He can't be that huge. There'd have been none left.
Yeah, of course. They've never heard of him. Yeah, so there you go. So yeah, on the analytics, that's the idea there. On recording, GarageBand has been brilliant. And as you said, for choosing songs that you're going to put out there, you get a feel which is your favorite. You try and gig it and hope people are going to like it. And certainly the people that come and see you and hang out with you, they'll soon tell you what their favorites are. So
yeah, definitely. So getting back to what the plans for Outlaw Orchestra are, what are your plans for 2021, 2022? And how far have you actually planned ahead?
Well, up into middle to the end of 22. Reason being that all the festivals that were bumped off last year have been shoved to this year. Yeah. If they happen, if they don't, they go on a year ahead. We're going to be knocking on doors, scratching around. So the festivals you didn't get onto, you're not even going to get a look in if they keep the same lineup. I'm sure we'll get a couple of gigs at the Dog and Duck or the Coach and Horses somewhere. No, we've got a lot of festivals, but we have been picked up by a lot of country and southern rock festivals. We've got a single coming out tomorrow, which is the song "Send Some Whiskey Home," and it's brilliant. You need to check it out. You'll get it in my show in Scotland Rocks Radio tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Be there. Thank you. And I filmed a video with just me and the dog walking through the New Forest at about 6 o'clock in the morning, frosty, with just the one cameraman. It was fantastic. And I did a bit of Matey from the Verve. Basically, I was just walking towards the camera singing it, bumping into trees. No, I wasn't walking down like Oxford Street. I was just sort of doing Matey from the Verve. What is it? Bittersweet Symphony, isn't it? Bittersweet Symphony. So I'm walking towards the camera, but the cameraman didn't have anyone behind him, and he kept tripping over tree roots. And the outtakes, as you suddenly see the sky. So we had a right laugh filming that. But it was the video came out really well for that. Following that, we are working on something at the moment. I'm not going to blow the lid off it too much, but we have written a whole bunch of songs and done a whole bunch of songs from home acoustically, back to the bluegrass style. Then we've got a whole bunch of songs which are going to be on the next Electric album for probably about September time. And other than that, we've also been doing a lot of covers. And we have a lot of good fun doing covers. So we record them on GarageBand. Then we film ourselves playing them and we put together videos. So we're going to release on a weekly basis covers and people can suggest what they want. And so they are. So it's sort of bluegrass styly.
Do you use anything like Patreon for the likes of that?
We use, well, what is that?
Patreon.
Yeah.
You need to look it up, mate. It's where you remember you're old enough to remember the days of the old fan clubs when you could join a band's fan club and you got special recordings or you got special pictures, photos sent to you.
Yeah.
That's it, but it's online and people can actually subscribe to your channel and spend X amount of money every month to go on. It's fantastic. It's perfect for things like that.
I will check it out.
And the show we put out this Sunday coming is Matt Jones from Twisted Illusion, and he talks a lot about it. And it was really interesting for myself and Ian, but that's something that's made for that, definitely.
I'll check it out.
And you can monetize it as well.
Yeah, I think the only one I ever joined was the Dennis the Menace Club, and I got my badge, Dennis and Nasher.
Apparently, Dennis is now wearing the Dave the Rocker badge.
Yeah, so I just kept watching the band Larkin Poe, if you know them. It's two sisters, and
we know
when they put out covers, they're so gifted, those two girls, and we started doing some covers, and we've done House of the Rising Sun and the song For What It's Worth. Now people normally say, I don't know what that is. It's the song Stop Now, What's That Sound, Everybody Look What's Going Down.
Yeah,
is called For What It's Worth. So we've done that, and we've done House of the Rising Sun, Sweet Virginia by the Stones. So yeah, a whole bunch of kind of covers, and we'll put them out weekly. It's a bit of fun. It gives us a few more songs to throw into the set, and it keeps your fingers working too, so you don't gather dust.
It's all good. I mean, we can just. We made that thing about Dennis the Menace there, which takes me on to the next question. First thing I was told about you guys, because I hadn't seen you, I think it was Crazy Cowboy, Alec, and he said to me, Dave's patter's amazing. He says the songs are great, the whole vibe. He says, but one thing you will is the humour. So you write humorous lyrics, as you've already mentioned. You do also have a lot of humour, your stories on stage. How important was it contrived? Did it come naturally to you? And how important do you think it is to the experience that your fans get, and how intrinsic is it to the Outlaw Orchestra?
It came about first off because we had 8 songs and we had to play for 1 hour 30 in a pub, and we had 8 songs. So I had a set list of just general rubbish and a couple of jokes and a couple of stories that would segue into the song. And I found that when you're in a pub, and if you're somewhere like Portsmouth, you might get a lot of, because it's a very big musician town, they will come to stand and watch you. If you can just face them out, stare down that mic and come out with funny stories, and you get them laughing and they can see that you're fearless when truly you're not, and you win them over, suddenly you relax. And when you relax, it's like you've had a couple of pints and you can start having a laugh, getting some banter, getting some people heckling you, and it's great fun. So it started that when I walk the dog, I'll start thinking of funny stories, and I'll go back and watch the comedians from the 70s. Well, Saturday night, the comedians, they used to get up and stand on the mic and just do joke, and I'll just listen to all those old jokes, and I'll be crying with laughter going, that one's going in. I mean, we did a gig in Southampton. It just happened that the sound man was from Romania, and he was Dutch. That was it. He was Dutch. He's talking to me in his Dutch accent. I go, where are you from? He goes, Holland. It came halfway through the gig. It's packed. And I said, can we just give a big cheer for the sound man? He's from Holland. He's Dutch. Hey! I went, there you go. I said, so I know a Dutch sound man. I know a Latvian one, a Russian one. I know a Czech one too. Suddenly, somebody told me in Sheffield, and I was killing myself laughing. It just comes, and people are laughing. But you know, if people heckle you, if you get to know your audience, they'll shout stuff out at you. Dave, how's the missus? And stuff like that. So all these things are funny. And then at Ramblin' Man, which was a huge crowd, yeah, the missus came along, and she's right in the back. I think she's hiding, but I pointed her out to the whole crowd. I went, that's her. with the red hair. Everyone, that Ramblin' Man, turn around. That's her there. I gave her a whole other stick from the stage. But I think it's just do what you do in the pub with your mates, even if there's 3,000 people in front of you. And look, Spike does it from Choir Boys, and it works. He comes out with a few lines, and you're killing yourself laughing. So
I think it fits in with your. I think it fits in with your sound as well, your music. It'd be quite hard to have that kind of persona about you if you're a death metal band or a black metal band, you know what I mean? But it works for you guys, and especially like that song you just said that it's happened again. You know, and that should bring you into the next question, Ian.
I was just going to say that leads nicely on to the next question. So, Dave, it looks like your good self and myself have a little shopping problem.
Yeah, a vice. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, like, no, we both collect handbags. Why have you put handbags here? I mean, guitars. Yeah. We both collect guitars. What? How necessary is it? And I'm not even going to ask this one. Like, what?
It is necessary.
Control. I can't really ask these questions, mate.
Yeah, that's it. So I put it in there as a trap because I knew you couldn't actually ask the question. However, to somebody that doesn't,
I'm waiting for my wife to walk in behind me and go, "He's got a problem."
I'll tell you why it's necessary. And unfortunately, whether I've beaten my missus into submission or she's on side with me, I don't think she is. But I have one song where I detune the E string down to a drop D. Now, you can't on stage be playing one guitar, put it down, or be on stage and go, hang on a second, let me just retune it. I need to put it down, pick up the next one. That's two guitars. I need two. Then I play in open E tuning. So I play in open E tuning with a slide guitar, and then we do a lot of songs in open G. If you put a capo tight onto the neck, you actually bend everything slightly pitchy too sharp.
Yep.
So I need a guitar in drop D, a guitar in standard tuning, one in open E, one in open G. I then bought a baritone because we have one song which is in open B. And I got it handmade in Kansas. and by G-sharp guitars, and it's just sort of dad and son luthiers. They're fantastic. So G-sharp guitars made in this beautiful baritone. That got shipped over here, and I use it for one song. And then we've just recorded a new song in open D tuning. So I'm not going to use a capo. I mean, that's what, about 12 quid. It'd be a lot easier just to buy another £1,200 guitar.
That makes perfect sense to me.
I rest my case.
Can you talk us through your rig? What is it you actually use from the pedal board to your amp?
Yeah, from my pedal board to my amp, I was having this conversation with Andy Muse, or Moose, from Sons of Liberty, because Moose is a gearhead as well. He seriously has a problem. So I would probably say, if everyone know, Moose needs to go to rehab for guitars.
I think we need to start a rehab for us guitars.
Rehab.
We just sit in a circle, like, talking about what gear we used. I think
yeah, so my rig, I mean,
can you imagine the start though? Everybody sitting in a circle and go, "Hi, I'm Ian, and I'm a guitaraholic."
I've only bought one guitar this year.
Well, I mean, mine was when Eddie Van Halen passed away, and I just sat there sort of looking at the screen going, this is not possible. And I went down the guitar shop next day, walked in, and it happened again. I truly went in to put my acoustic in because the pickup had broken, and there's a Eddie Van Halen Wolfgang guitar. I went, I'll have it. That's my little salute to Eddie. So there you go. What my missus just came in, she looked at it and went, who's this? What? I went, it happened again.
I remember you doing that actually, because you know how we found, Ian and I found out about Eddie Van Halen having passed. We were interviewing Billy Gray.
Yeah.
And it was the first thing he told us that he just heard in America at the time that he passed. He was gutted. He could hardly speak.
Mate, it was Billy Gray from Fozzy. He was on, and we was just talking, and he goes, "Have you heard the news?" And I went, "About Eddie," and I went, "What news?" And he goes, "He's gone," and that was it.
It's almost in America they got the news quicker than we got.
They did. I think I got a message from my best buddy. He's called Buzzy, and he actually played on the song "Send Some Whiskey Home." He plays the 2 slide solos, and his wife sings the backing vocals on it. They're over in Long Beach, and we had a Rolling Stones tribute band in Long Beach, on and off. So I'd fly over, beat Keith Richards for 8 gigs, and then come back. And But Buzzy messaged me and he said, I've just gone into a donut shop down near Huntington Beach, and Michael Anthony from Van Halen is in the donut shop. And he said, and literally Eddie had died a week before, and he said, and Mike was saying that we got it together, and Sammy was going to come back and do some shows with Van Halen, and Diamond Dave was going to do some shows, and they got to an age where they're all kind of being good buddies with each other. And Eddie passes. What a shame! What a crying shame!
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really was.
I tell you what, it was a Bill and Ted moment though for me, because it was, with all the shit going on in the world, I actually looked at Facebook and I thought Eddie Van Halen's brought Facebook back to normal, where it was just Van Halen videos left, right, and centre, and it was just nice to see something different from the usual shit which is going on at the moment.
It was just fantastic. Everyone had the Van Halen banner with all the red stripes, and sales suddenly went through the roof of Eddie Van Halen's t-shirts and guitars, and it's fantastic, absolutely fantastic how he's saluted. Going back to my pedal board, it's pretty simple: a guitar tuner, a reverb pedal, but something you said earlier, I use a Roto Vibe pedal, which is like the Leslie amp sound. So I use a Roto Vibe, gives it that swampy sound. And I do use a harmonizer pedal to drop the bottom E string 3 octaves down, and it fattens up the sound massively. Really?
Okay.
So you basically have a graphic equalizer. You bring off all the high notes, all the high peaks come or get compressed out. This is what Cadillac 3 used, the lap steel player, and Jack Black uses it when he was in the White Stripes. So you hear all your guitar stuff come through your guitar amp, but through a bass amp, because I've got a split rig, through the bass, I have a little bass amp, and the bottom, the A string and the E string come through the bass amp. So you can basically, if I'm in open tuning, I can hit those bottom notes, and you've got the big boom. You can go and do your slide, and it just makes a huge sound. It's good fun on a big stage when you hear it and you stand back and go, "Whoa, that's all me." Yeah, that's good fun. So that kind of works. It's a real problem with instruments. We've got so many. Pete has his lap steel, his pedal steel, his banjo, his mandolin, his guitar, and he'll be bringing a little Fender Rhodes with him as well. So,
is there one guitar that you've got that you think, I've got to take that and you've got to play it religiously every gig?
I think so. I think you do have that. Have you ever done that where you get to a gig, you break a string, and somebody hands you something like a Les Paul Epiphone, and the action's really high, and you've got to play with it? It's a nightmare. You got.
I have one of my claim to fame is I was playing a gig. I snapped the strings in the sound check, brand new strings. I'm a very heavy player, heavy-handed player.
Yeah,
so do go through quite a lot. I do a lot of pinch harmonics, snapped strings, bump, and I thought I haven't got time to restring. So I was playing a gig, it was using my ESP, halfway through the set, bump, snapped strings, and I just went, and I looked, and there was the dreaded guitar. It was like the Top Gear car that no one wants to drive. So I just went, no, got my wireless kit, ran to the car, and just got me the other guitar, got it out the car, missing the top E string, started walking through, and everyone was just clapping, like, you know what I mean? And I was walking through the crowd.
Hero.
It was one of those moments.
See, you got all that's. I love it. You get a hero moment. It comes off great, and then you've got the story. Then you've got the real Spinal Tap stories. We were playing this pub called the Lock, Stock and Barrel, and it was a real punch-up pub. And this was in Hazard County. Me and the other guitar player doing our harmony guitar bit, Allman Brothers stuff, in our cowboy hats. We ran through the pub playing, and all these blokes have got inflatable guitars. We used to bring along, blow them up, and throw them out. They're all jamming. One bloke's filming. We ran out the front of the pub to come back in through the back door like heroes. They all went right, and I turned left. There was a hanging basket. Boom! I'm on my back with a whole bunch of pansies and begonias all over me in soil. I'm still playing.
That's a heavy then. And they're heavy when they hit you. I've done that.
Well, honestly, it was like a Tommy Hitman Holmes was stood there and just beamed me as I went out. Bam! I was on my back. This standing basket swinging of dirt all over me. I love those Spinal Tap moments.
So the rest of the band said, "You do realise, Dave, that's got to be part of your show at every gig now." We're actually going to take one with us and hang it up.
You got. It's like your Stonehenge, isn't it? Like the hanging basket comes down. We've all got those stories. Like you've got your climbing your stack of amps in Troon.
I'll tell you a quick one. We were a heavy metal band, and we liked explosives and all that at the start, but we had to make our own because we were skint. So one of the young lads that was a roadie for us, I think he was only about 16 or something, said, and this is before YouTube, I found out how you can make these smoke bombs and all that. I said, right, okay, fair enough. So we played a community centre. It was a big hall, and it was it was a school hall in one of the big villages. So we were playing there. We started. So as we came to the front of the stage, one of the guitarists had borrowed his brother's brand new T-shirt, which was like in them days, so like late 70s, early 80s. It was more nylon than anything. So as he's leaning out over into the crowd, this boy puts this in, and this smoke came out, and it went woof, right. So it melted his T-shirt. So the guitarist was now like this. He came in like this, and his hands were like that. He's trying to do this. The smoke just kept coming and coming and coming and coming. Eventually, we had to abandon this whole school hall, stand outside for half an hour, get cleared, come back in and start again. So I said to the young roadie, I says, "How much did you put in that?" He says, "Well, they told me to put 3 teaspoonfuls in, so I just put 30 in because I thought it'll be bigger."
Fantastic, brilliant.
So anyway, mate, final question for you.
Go on.
Look into the future, and your playing days are behind you, and you're looking back on your life. What would success look like for you?
One thing Ian said earlier is playing to a crowd and they're singing your songs back to you. That's quite incredible. That is quite a buzz, and you hear that cheer. Going on stage at the O2 in Sheffield, and I remember standing behind the big banner that was behind the drum riser, and you can see through and see the crowd, but I guess they can't see you. And we're all stood back there like, should we go out now? Should we go out now? And then I had this moment's thought. I ran back to the dressing room and put a sombrero on, this big, huge outside sombrero.
I've seen the photos.
And I remember then thinking, oh, it'll get a laugh. And we walked on stage, and the cheer was so loud, kicked off the first song, and I'm looking out, and everyone's singing along. That, I'd say, it's not for the money, it's not for anything. It's just for music fans and musicians just coming together and having a damn good time. So we don't call them fans; they're all our mates, and it's who you hang out with after a gig. So I think having just that one united moment is brilliant. That would be success. Other things I would say for me personally, when I joined that Stones tribute band in Orange County in California, flying over 4 or 5 times a year to do 8-10 gigs per time you go over, and there you are, you're in Orange County on a big stage, and you've got a really good Mick Jagger, and you're thinking, I'm Keith Richards tonight. And there was the way I met that band, because they were called Laidlaw, and Tommy Laidlaw was the singer, and they supported ZZ Top and Skynyrd on a couple of world tours. And I saw them in Las Vegas supporting Skynyrd, this band Laidlaw. Found the guitarist on MySpace, then Facebook, and me and the missus were in LA one time, and I did a post, and he popped up and said, "Hey, you're that guy from the UK. Are you in Hollywood?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Come down the house." So we drove down there. 10 days later, we're still drinking. And then they had a little reform of the band Laidlaw. And he said, "The only thing is the other guitarist can't make it. Would you come and join us for the show?" So having a CD that you play to death, through your 20s, and then suddenly you're in Los Angeles playing, and you're looking on stage going, I'm in the CD, I'm playing with this band. I mean, that was insane. That was a hell of a buzz, and they've all become literally family to us, and been to their weddings. I've got real estate now. I own a wardrobe at his house. So I've got US real estate. And I think I've got a shelf in his garage.
That's enough
You've
for a
made
green
it, mate.
card.
That's success.
That is success.
When somebody says what's success, that's it. Owning a wardrobe and a shelf in somebody's house in America.
I just say to the girls, well, I might be over at my place in LA, my wardrobe. I sat on my shelf.
So, Dave,
Yeah.
I just want to say thanks for taking part in the Scouser and the Scot. Really appreciate it. Before you go, we do have a couple of things for you to do first. Can you give us your links to your band pages? How do we get in touch with you? What's the best way of seeing you guys?
Without question, where we always are, and we're stuck on our phones because we're all teenagers. Facebook, the Outlaw Orchestra. You can join the Outlaw Orchestra Brotherhood, which is a Facebook group where we can really sling shots at each other and have some fun and say the things we probably wouldn't say on the main band page. So that's the Outlaw Orchestra Brotherhood and the Outlaw Orchestra on Facebook. The same goes for Twitter and Instagram, and then the outlaworchestra.com. And if you're struggling, V is THE, but orchestra, you have to look it up, because I met a bloke after a show that came along in a wheelchair and his leg was in plaster right up to his nuts. And he said, Dave, would you sign my leg? And I went, yeah. I went, the Outlaw O-R-K. Shit. And he goes, and it was with a big fat marker. And I went, sorry, mate, I don't know how to spell orchestra.
Choir. You should put choir, but you better struggle with that as well.
You'll have to.
What we'll do, Dave, we'll save you the hassle, mate. I'll put all the links down below. I'll spell check them and everything.
Or just run it through Grammarly or something like that.
Yeah, I'll pick it up.
And if you can't find them, I know where they all are.
Yeah, definitely. What I would do, mate, is we would love to have you back on as well with the rest of the guys, if that's possible.
Always.
Hopefully with the signed Hello Kitty headphones.
I'm writing that down. Signed headphones. I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. I'll get me some new ones.
Get some new ones, and if you want to do it, we'll release it on here, and we'll do a special. The Outlaw Orchestra signed Hello Kitty headphone raffle or something like that, and we'll give it away to your charity of your choice.
That would be fantastic. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you both. It's been great fun. Honestly, we should have some beers. We just swap stories all day.
Mate, I would love to do that, and we'll have to get a gig together and do it. Let's make it happen. I'm happy with that, and we'll sort it, definitely. Cool. John,
I've written that down.
Fantastic, fellas. Well, lovely chatting to you. I'm going to go and put my headphones on and listen to YouTube, I think, for the rest of the day.
Good man. Check out our other shows as well.
Absolutely. Well, all the best in your next interview. I think that's going to be a good one.
Well, John, over to you, mate. End the show for us.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've been the Scouser and the Scot, and until next time, you know what to do. Hit that cowbell and subscribe.